Might be back. I'm not entirely sure. Always does this to me. It's like weird, dude. It's like a new thing for me. Sucks. Sucks. Hopefully I'm back. Find it. Yeah, hi Cario. God damn it, man. This always happens. Yeah, well, I don't get what causes it either. Like, it's so frustrating because, like, I checked my packet loss because somebody else had mentioned, like, oh, upload and download isn't enough to check. You gotta check your packet loss. I'm like, okay. So I checked my packet loss. It's fine. Check my upload download speeds. They're fine. I really can't figure this one out. And it's more recent. I even called my ISP just to see if, like, you know, see what's going on, see what's up, and they're saying it's fine. So I'm, yeah, it really shouldn't be doing this. So I'm gonna, I don't know if it has to do with YouTube or what, but it's been a problem. Yeah, it looks like my upload and download is enough to do what I'm doing. Not trying to, I'm not doing an HD fucking stream, you know, like. So I'm not entirely sure why it drops out like that completely. And I'm not running anything weird. So, what are your encoding settings? Okay, see, I don't know about that. Teach me, karyotype. What is it? What are encoding settings so that I can fix those, whatever those are? I don't know what that is. I'm dumb. I'm an old boomer. I'm trying to learn here. Teach me. Teach me. Oh, wise karyotype. Where do I look for that? I'm using OBS Streamlabs in order to run this. Maybe I should start looking for like a different like option than OBS Streamlabs. There's a different programmer or something that I should be using because this is crazy. Pretty pretty sick of this. Go to the settings and then the video tab. Haha, boomer bad at technology. Shut up, Neely. I bet you weren't even all that good yourself. So fuck you. In any case, let me see here. Settings in the video tab. Okay, so I'm in the settings. Okay. Okay, so under video, or okay, so now I'm in the settings. What do I click on? Or rather, the output tab. Sorry. Okay, output. All right, I'm in the output tab. Now what should I be doing? Obviously, I can't change anything now because I started the stream again. But under encoder, I have it under my hardware. NVENC. That's my encoder. Should it not be that? Should my encoder be a different one? Should my bitrate or keyframe or whatever the hell else be different? So that's what I have. I have it under hardware NV. You can see, you're right. I'm a boomer at heart with my level of knowledge technology. Ha! I knew it, Melee. The encoder depends. What CPU do you have? I don't know, man. I just bought a like a while back. I bought some fucking $1,000 plus computer that my friend recommended and got for me with a good graphics card and good everything. That's supposed to be pretty decent. So, okay, so I check in the task manager. Let's go. All right, let me look at that. I love how I'm getting computer help on my stream. Because I'm incompetent. Okay, so I'm in my task manager. Where do I go? What am I looking at in my task manager? So I can figure this boomer shit out for myself. What what is it? What am I looking at? So I can actually get back to something of value. Okay. Options. What am I looking at here? What am I checking? Okay, so I don't know. Am I looking just at okay, Intel Core something? Can I show you my task manager? Damn, that feels intrusive. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm sure there's nothing on here that can get me in trouble, right? No. Okay, are you asking me about GPU or my CPU? Because my CPU is an Intel Arc Core TM i3/9100F CPU, 3.6 something gigahertz. But my GPU is an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650. Nothing crazy, but it works. All right, hold on. i3 9100. Yikes. Why is that yikes? Is that bad? Is an i3 9100 like bad? Did I get like robbed? I mean, I bought this like a year ago. Is that bad? Carry type saved me. Tell me, is that a bad CPU? Like for what I'm trying to do? Some basic bitch streaming? Says it's only 16% utilized. So I don't talk to me. Carry type. Do I have a bad CPU? Not bad. Just was going to tell you to switch to X264 software encoding if you had something more powerful. It's pretty much entry level. Okay, well. Okay, but that shouldn't be it then, right? But it shouldn't be like what's causing me issues, right? Lost all my people watching because they don't want to hear about computer shit, but whatever. All right, cool. Well, anyway, it's back on. It's working. Whatever. If you want to DM me about the stuck karyotype, just DM me and we'll figure it out. Maybe you could give me a little bit of help on this shit. Okay. Anyway. Let's see here. Schizoid chain. Consciously, the sufferer of schizoid chain feels inherently defective and longs to attain a hollow state of perfection, a state wherein all interpersonal dynamics are beyond the reach of conflict and criticism. A reflection of the now. Yet, of course, this is impossible to achieve. In this sense, the odds are stacked against the sufferer of schizoid shame. Despite all efforts, it will not be possible to eliminate all signs of interpersonal need or desire. In a therapeutic setting, as the analyst encourages schizoid patients to express themselves, they may undergo deep and paranoia-inducing experiences of shame. What else we got here? Just want to see what... Okay, so here we have... Yeah, these are examples. Right, I'm guessing. Okay, with sessions. Okay, I want to finish reading like the theory or other stuff first then. Internalized objects and the null idea. In exploring a clinical manifestation of schizoid shame, it will be helpful to further discuss the relationship between shame and the ideal. Whether shame is adaptive or traumatic, it is invariably fueled by an uncomfortable sense that one has fallen below an ideal version of oneself. Shame is about the self. It is thus a narcissistic reaction evoked by a lapse from the ego ideal. Freud asserts that the ego ideal is a generalized derivative of the parent-child relationship. A primal and early sense of one's own perfection is fostered by the mother, who intuits her infant's needs with extreme care, creating the fantasy of a perfect self in a perfect world. The infant contained by the mother's care need not strive or fail for him or herself within the confines of time and space, and can therefore, in the ego ideal, maintain the illusion of perfection. Object relations theory expands on this concept of the ego ideal by recontextualization as an internalized object, in a sense, customizing it to make room for the unique imprint of each individual's historical objects. Klein describes, here we're going to some Klein. Klein describes the ego ideal as an intensification of the first internalized good object, the mother breast. This internalized version of the ego ideal becomes a refuge for the subject during periods of anxiety. Well, what if you're not, breastfed, but whatever. During periods of anxiety, the bottle is going to be a ego ideal refuge. Anxiety over events, relationships, and the external world. Also define the ideal object or ego ideal as an internalized object that manages existential anxiety by blocking the subject's awareness of badness in the external object. Years later, Pharaoh asserted that the ego ideal develops out of the idealized internal objects that reflect real objects onto which the child's good feelings and valued parts of the self have been projected. With good enough experience of the external object, the ego ideal becomes a supportive internalized object. The standard it sets will dovetail with that which is good for the individual's development. For example, the patient attempts to maintain the relationship with a powerful, significant, Oedipal object by internalizing it and relates to the ego ideal of God. Okay, all right, let's keep going. Yet when the ego ideal evolves along with the impact of aggressive or self-absorbed caregiver, it becomes a toxic internal object, a source of judgmental, destructive energy with the psyche. A tyrannical ego ideal may develop, one that is pathologically imperious and insistent on high goals that are impossible to attain. Traumatizing early caregivers can thus disfigure the nature, the functioning of the ego ideal as an internalized object. Aggressively sadistic caregivers lead to the destructive ego ideal. Perhaps, on the other hand, self-absorbed caregivers lead to the absent ego ideal and or null idea. Null ideal. Bolas, in the conception of the fascist state of mind, alludes to the idealization of emptiness, wherein any and all mental content is experienced as repulsive and perverse. In the state of schizoid chain, to be perfect or achieve one's null ideal means to be no one. A superior sense of self, in this case, is built upon the negative, an unconscious devotion to non-meaning, an erasure of intersubjective reality and the emotions it evokes. No! Such erasure does not occur without a price. As Green puts it, the negative aims at the subject's self-impoverished nearly... Oh my god. Okay. I can't. Alright, give me a second, guys. I'm gonna need... I'd say so. If it genuinely causes harm, incidental abuse is still abuse. Yeah, I know, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, shaming individuals for like a lack of understanding of a group of individuals that, you know, like if you went back in time and you had like an autistic child, and you had a parent that like was trying their best without understanding what the fuck was going on, and they thought, oh, maybe my kid wasn't, you know, isn't listening because I'm not disciplining them enough, or I'm not, you know, taking them to this enough, or they're not going, they need God in their life, or some shit like that, right? Like there's a difference between that and like active malevolence, because like especially if the society you inhabit doesn't have the information required for you to even make any kind of connection as to what the fuck it is that's going on, right? And even if you do make a connection, society will oftentimes make the wrong connections for you because it you know, it itself is lacking that data, lacking the information to make the appropriate suggestion, and so thus that causes further damage. Because what is the parent to do other than to rely on a psychological authority to tell them what is wrong with their, you know, abnormal child, if you will? It's not good. I'm not saying these are good things. These are bad things, but just going around getting fucking angry at individuals involved, instead of the systems that were involved is a bit silly. Oh yeah, that's definitely different. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Man, it sucks that I lost the people that were listening. I had like 6 people, and now I have 3. It's so fucking annoying. I gotta figure some shit out, but hopefully I'll watch it later because a lot of people end up watching this as a VOD anyway, or as VODs. Yeah, this is a big yikes. This is a big yikes. No, it's this bothers me. What I just read. Let me grab a drink and I'll be back. Let me just contemplate this a little bit. Don't leave. Be right back. Okay. Alright, guys, I'm back. Post a link on Discord. Inks is too lazy. You may want to update the link on the Discord. Oh, can you post it, Neely? Just post it. I think I have people coming back already. They probably already found out or some shit. If you want to repost it, go for it. That's fine. Okay, before I explain to you what bothered me about what I just read, you guys, chat, should I drink the watermelon mojito or the strawberry daiquiri first? Which one? Pick the strawberry mojito or the watermelon. Sorry, strawberry daiquiri or the watermelon mojito. Which one? Strawberry daiquiri or watermelon mojito? Put it in the chat. Yeah, just do the Garden Hermits and the YouTubes. That's fine. I don't like bugging too much, but you know, if they signed up to get paid for that kind of shit, then they probably want to know. Watermelon mojito. All right. Or strawberry daiquiri, which one? Come on, hurry up. They're getting warm. You are powerful, Melee. You are more powerful than you could ever imagine. But not more than I could ever imagine. I imagine you exactly as powerful as you could ever be. Anyway. Okay, so there's only one vote, so I'm gonna go with the watermelon mojito then. Very excited. There we go. And it kind of tastes like shit, but whatever. Okay. It's like a funky aftertaste. Okay, so the reason this particular section rubs me the wrong way, Stephanie Lewin, and I would love to talk to you, Stephanie Lewin. I would love to talk to you. Maybe I should try to contact Stephanie Lewin, PhD, just to have a conversation. I'm not trying to debate. I'm just trying to learn. I'm trying to ask questions here based on what I understand, what I've learned, and what I've experienced, and what other people have told me. Blah, 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 blah. The community has said, I've read, seen. Part of the problem with what I see here is that it's this idea that it's an erasure of an inner identity, an inner sense of emotion, things of that nature. I don't think it's almost implying, maybe I'm reading this incorrectly, it's almost implying that it's like an active intent on the part of the schizoid in order to protect themselves or adapt to this kind of attack on the ego that seems to be occurring from the outside. Right? It almost feels like it's implying too that the schizoid is essentially being like almost like a reverse narcissist. Funny. Where the status that they're attaining is found via erasure of the cell. I don't buy that at all. I think the erasure of the self is true. I oftentimes see that kind of shit, but I think that the erasure of the self is coming from a completely different place. And again, I'm basing this on the places that I've been told continuously by a variety of schizoids in a variety of situations. So I'm often told that the reason they're trying to erase themselves is because they feel as if who they are is not incongruent with the world around them, with whether their family, their parents, or peers. You know, I bet all these schemas are pretty much great for most other personality disorders. Maybe. But I think oftentimes the reason they're trying to erase themselves and the reason I would, or the reason a lot of people, the schizoids I've discussed this with do, is not because they're trying to attain some sense of like betterment via erasure. It's more of this person that I am, whatever I am, I've always felt is not compatible. It doesn't work. And it's not always the parents that are being described. It's just the environment, the world, And oftentimes they have emotional connections that are deep, but they're just not lined up with what would be considered conventionally pro-social. So because of that reason, over time, and you start kind of just forgetting that any of that stuff even matters. Anything that you are emotionally connected to has any value, because externalizing it is seemingly worthless, and there's little recourse, right? And enough years of that, and eventually you kind of just set that shit aside, right? Because the world is expecting you to emotionally connect to things that you can't, or aren't intuitive to you, such as the conventionally interpersonal. So because of that very reason, you develop this disconnect. That's my perspective on it. I don't really buy this whole, like, you know you needed narcissistic parents in order to become schizoid, because that makes you believe that being nothing makes you the best in your parents' eyes. Like, the goodness is associated with nothingness, the null of the self. The ideal becomes to be nothing. Like, it's just no. Like, it, so many times I hear schizoids tell me, I want to become nothing because I don't feel like anything I do is of any value. Not because I want to attain nothing, because nothing is better, because nothing is less painful, right? Nothing is less painful, or at least this idea of nothing is less painful. And oftentimes, whoops, I want to super chat that way. And oftentimes, I mean, they're right in the sense that there's shame associated, but the shame is coming from the sense of, I am nothing because I have nothing I can reflect myself onto. I don't have a world that I can project myself onto that I could see. I can't see myself when I try to project myself onto it. It is either rejected or ignored or neglected or unseen. And this happens enough in childhood and in adolescence, and, well, you eventually forget what the hell was in there to begin with, because you couldn't find any utility in it, right? And so you end up finding more utility in the masks you create, and more passive, easy to, more malleable behavior to just get by and find the next time you can be alone. And oftentimes, a lot of schizoids, they have a sense of identity, they have a sense of self. It's just really, really buried deep inside, or it's like it's built upon an internal framework, an internal world, right, in which the real self resides, but doesn't dare come out, because of many of the reasons I often describe, and some of the reasons that are being described as well, even in this paper. It just, I don't buy this whole, you're trying to attain nullness because nullness is high status in the face of a neglectful parent that doesn't care about you at all in any capacity other than how it's associated to themselves. Like, I just don't buy it, because although there are many schizoids that grew up with narcissistic parents, there are many schizoids that do not. I did not grow up with a conventionally narcissistic mother or father. I did not grow up with that sort of environment, or it was narcissistically abusive, right? A lot of schizoids I talked to did not grow up. Some schizoids grew up with other forms of neglect, obviously, like maybe they had schizophrenic parents. That's common, or schizotypal parents, or parents with other sorts of disorders that made them, essentially even unintentionally abusive. But a lot of the description I often get from schizoids I've been in communication with for a long time, as well as new people that contact me all the time, is that it's the world that they feel incongruent with. It's not just their parents. It's not just a complaint of, like, oh, my parents are this, but I found people in the world, out there in the world, all over, that I can connect to because they understand me, and it's always this issue of, I'm not understood, I can't communicate. When I try to communicate, I have to communicate in ways that seem fit, because if I communicate in ways that aren't fit, that leads to worse outcomes, which in turn cause me more problems, which I learned early on in life. are not helpful, and so continuing pattern of cyclical sort of pattern of masking and adapting and keeping your head low and not projecting a sense of self onto your environment and shit like that. Like, it's just, it's going to cause the same problems. And it's going to cause a lot of shame, right? It's going to cause a lot of shame because you're going to feel like I'm not human. I'm not a person. I'm not real. My feelings don't matter. My thoughts don't matter. I don't matter. Right. So, GoFundMe links. I don't know if it lets you, if you super chat something, it works. I don't know. That's what tastes weird. Uh, but my point is that I honestly think that there is a shame component to the schizoid. That I'm never going to deny. I've lived through it. I've had a lot of it. I know where it's coming from. I've studied it. I've experienced it. I've done EMDR, association with it, by myself and with the psych. Um, I, I've done a lot of stuff, and shame is definitely a very prominent component in the pathology slash, I guess, maladaptations to develop for the individual that is considered schizoid. But again, as I've stated many times before, I do not believe that those adaptations or any of those things are to be associated with the cognitive experience or the intuitive experience of the schizoid, where their emotions lie and are actually connected. They merely just have a different way of experiencing things. So that in and of itself is not pathology. That is my belief. I would love to work with enough people that would like to either prove me wrong or work with me to figure out what is the case. Yes. Let me continue here. So I think it starts having examples. I don't really like reading the examples of the case studies they put on here because oftentimes like they're gonna find the case studies that are the most prevalent. And if they're running under the assumption of some of their theory, they might be looking for what they think are appropriately diagnosed schizoids that might fall in line with their theory or their ideas pertaining to narcissistic parents and shame and blah 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 and everything else. Um, so it'll just annoy me if because it's like it's silly just to it's silly to just pin people down. If you want to read it, here all well shit. I don't know where I can. Well, the article is called "Schizoid Shame: The Idealization of Absence." So if you want to read all the different case studies and all that kind of stuff, go for it. I just don't want to go through all those individual things. Okay, I'll read one session here. This is like the Olivia session. Olivia says that she and her mother are opposites. Her mother is an insatiable seeker of perfect care for others, while she, Olivia, is ashamed of making even the smallest demands upon others. Ironically observed, this makes a perfect match. Olivia is no one just so that her mother can be someone, a zero-sum game. Olivia instantly tenses up. I asked what my statement had made her think or feel. She says she's not sure. If I ask if perhaps my comment has upset her, Olivia thoughtfully and slowly replies that my comment seemed inaccurate, that in fact she feels an exact copy of her mother. 1 second, please. Um, let's see here. Sorry. Okay, so let's get to the convo. Let's see here. So you have SL. Yeah, O is for Olivia. Okay, so interesting because you were just talking about how you are the opposites. I know. So O is Olivia. I know, but actually that didn't feel real to me as I was saying it. I mean, I know it's true, but it doesn't feel true. What does feel true? Can you try to put it into words? Olivia thinks for a long time, or long moments. The times I feel like I'm her are when I feel needy of other people. What do you mean by needy? I don't know, needing support or needing company or reality checks, although I suppose it's okay to sometimes need help. But it seems to me that whenever you act like a regular human being, you wrestle with a lot of shame. What does that mean? Act like a regular human being. What a fucking loaded phrase. Yes, oddly, that makes sense. I wish I'd seen it sooner. Laughing uncomfortably. No, don't say that. Why not, if it's true? It's my way of telling you I'm sorry for not getting how really bad the shame can get. Okay, then, to be honest, so many times and still it happens sometimes your advice feels like this terrible thing that I had to do, but felt unable to. If you gave me an idea, I would think, is it going to be me who is going to say this? But I didn't want to be resentful. Well, why wouldn't you feel resentment about that? Laughing. I don't want to be mad at you. You are letting me off the hook that easily? Maybe. But it's just that compared to what I'm used to with my mother, you were easy. To me, you don't seem needy. That was almost the most awful thing. Her neediness was so intense, and of course, whenever I tried to speak about my own stuff, my needs, she would glaze over. Now Olivia has begun. She starts to speak quickly, pushing into words things she has not felt able to say before. Olivia, sometimes mother will say when you get older, life gets pretty scary. That is such a dark thing to me, like its pronouncement about how my life will be. I want to stop her from saying stuff like that, so I'll always try to keep her happy. If she's happy, she's quiet. To keep her happy, you have to limit yourself. I really don't feel like myself when she is visiting. I feel like I'm fighting off whatever internal drama she is feeling, and it's just so horrible. Can you describe to me what's so horrible about the dramas? It's what I sense is going on inside her head, and it scares me for me. I fear that kind of lurks. I think of it during those weird tantrums. Actually, when a tantrum comes on, the whole time I'm telling myself that I am going to wind up being just like her. Olivia, that's so important. I'm glad you can finally say it aloud to me. Right, it's like I hadn't exactly made that thought clear to myself until just now. By saying it, you become more separate from the power of the thought and more separate from her. Maybe, and actually, guess what happened this morning? I looked in the mirror and when I was getting ready for work and actually thought, not bad. And then I thought, is this the woman that other people see? Olivia and I laughed together. It's odd, these moments of freedom. Okay. All right, let me think here. I'm trying to hold on. It's just because I don't have the original link. I think it's somewhere in the schizoid research part of the server. I just have this link to like, but this is just to my PDF that I have downloaded. Like, it's not to. This isn't like useful to someone else. Let me see here. Is there like a way to share this? No. So I don't think this is of any use. I don't know where the original link to the download is. Yeah. Sorry. Stephanie Lewin, PhD. Schizoid chain, the idealization of absence. That's what it's called. Let's see here. Hinsog, $20. Thank you. Living Well Schizophrenia on YouTube is doing a GoFundMe. Feels like another good project to support in addition. It's a woman with schizoaffective disorder. YouTube won't let me link it, but oh well. Oh, okay. Well, what is it called? Living Well with Schizophrenia. Okay. So she has a GoFundMe. Okay, yeah. Well, I'll look for it in a little bit. I'm kind of almost done with this anyway. So I'll look for it in a little bit and I'll show it on the screen. Thank you, Hinsog. I appreciate it. And I'll for sure put it out there because, you know, you felt it was important enough to give me $20. So absolutely. You found it on the server, but it's a PDF. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. I guess it's just a PDF file. I don't know. I'm not too sure how to. I'm too boomer. I'm like the last person you want to ask. But anyway, based on this conversation between Olivia and their psychologist, or whoever they're talking to, this is the problem too. This is one of the issues. Even if you have, like, say, an individual that is on the schizophrenic spectrum, right, and they have a very different way of thinking, experiencing that's like unintuitive to most neurotypical people. Even if they had that, right, if they grew up with the right type of parent, they're still going to develop oftentimes many of the comorbids that come and issues that come with having a parent of a specific type of PD or issue, right? If you get somebody that's on the same cognitive spectrum and they grow up with a parent that is, like, you know, narcissistic, or a parent that is like histrionic, or a parent that is fucking, has something like what's it called, Munchausen or Munchausen by proxy or some shit, they're gonna develop a completely different understanding of how to deal with some of these conflicts, and they might come to different conclusions and like ideas pertaining to it, and they might struggle with it, and it might cause a lot. They might have PTSD associated with everything else and everything, but I don't think that I would think, okay, and I'm just some dumb guy. I would think the shame that Olivia is dealing with, or the shame that developed into the schizoid pathology, is just is not directly correlated to just her relationship and her concerns and her paranoia of being her own mother, shit like that. That would cause her to null herself out, right? It just feels like a very kind of narrow perspective of what could be fucking with Olivia if Olivia's schizoid, right? And I think a lot of the time, what happens is that okay, oh, thank you Mila, or Moss, whatever. Mila, it's under well, meat suit, I think, on the server, meat suit, Michael. um but fucking, you got Moss, you got Mila, you got meat suit. God damn it. Making it all difficult for us there. No, but I think what happens is you'll have a different understanding or relationship with your parent that will also cause trauma or have create oftentimes like other comorbidities and shit. But I bet if you asked Olivia what her experiences were like with other people in other environments, with her school, with her peers, why is it that she doesn't go out? Why doesn't she talk to people? Why does she prefer to be alone? What, like, I bet if you start digging in with Olivia into that stuff, it's not going to be because my mother, because I feel like I don't know that she's going to associate her unwillingness to connect to the world around here with, oh, my mom was so narcissistic that she made me feel like I didn't matter, right? That's what I don't buy it. And then on top of that, like, the difficulty of trying to record a conversation between somebody that's schizoid and somebody that's their psych is uh how much are they masking? What are they not to saying? What are they kind of glossing over? What there's like so much shit that the schizoid patient could be doing in order to get through their situation, right? I've talked to schizoid people that have said they've gone through psychologists, and because the psychologist is just not understanding what they're experiencing, they just start agreeing with whatever the fuck the psychologist is saying because they want to get the fuck out of there, because they just, okay, they're done. They're done. They're just like, okay, yeah. Oh, that sounds right. Oh, okay, yeah. Because, like, they're not being understood. They're trying to convey something, and the psychologist is connecting it to other theories and other ideas as to what it is that's happening, right? So, like, if somebody's really convinced that all of this has to do with fucking narcissistic, neglectful parents, that, caregivers that lead to a status and goodness being associated to the nullification of the self, like, if they start really believing something like that, right? And when they approach schizoid patients, they're gonna start fucking shaping it under those conditions, right? And then they're not gonna actually hear what that person has to say. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It frustrates me because it just doesn't. It's so narrow. It's such a narrow perspective, in theory, on what it is that's occurring, and and that bothers me because it's being conflated with almost being conflated with like neurotypical responses to specific environmental stimuli. And because there isn't an acknowledgement of the very different way of experiencing life that people that are on the schizophrenic spectrum, or cluster A oftentimes, or whatever you want to call it, because they keep fucking changing it anyway. They're already talking about getting rid of cluster A and getting rid of schizoid and conflating it with avoidant. It's just fucking crazy dumb bullshit. Like I can't. It's hard to keep up with this stuff because like somebody always wants to fucking change everything. Because they think they've come across the new grand theory. It's the same issue you have with like any other kind of profession or academic profession. Like there's always some fucking upstarts that want to find some grand unification theory about a lot of shit, and so they start like associating everything to everything else and start connecting dots where there isn't any. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's somebody on the schizophrenic spectrum that like comes up with these theories because they're good at connecting dots and finding loose associations, and just like, and then they're like in their desperation to maybe answer questions about themselves, they start like constructing some narrative that might help them out, but obviously isn't very helpful to everyone else dealing with the same fucking problem. um yeah, we're all just avoidance and denial. Yeah, every schizoid is just an avoidant and denial. Yeah, that's fucking great. um yeah, well, I mean, that's what they're trying to say now, so no, that's hyperbole, but it's just aggravating. It's aggravating because like, okay, hold on one second, guys. I need a minute. Sorry, I have to check something. There we go. No, I was telling Melee that if they get rid of it from the DSM or some bullshit, I don't think it's happening, honestly, like realistically. I think there's a lot of pushback right now for that kind of shit. So I think it's some people pushing for it, but I think there's a lot of pushback as well that I've been seeing in interactions on social media between psychologists and shit like that. Um, but if they try to do something of that nature, I don't think it's gonna happen. And even if it does, it'll be short lived. And they'll push back against it. There'll be plenty of psychs that are gonna push back against it. I'll still be pushing back against it because it's fucking stupid. I'm not avoidant. And there's nothing wrong with being avoidant. That's a whole different issue though, right? It's not the same issue. So trying to conflate the two in some capacity is fucking stupid. Or trying to compact everything into some broader categories, right? Like it's a mess. It's a fucking mess. Honestly, I think what if you were to ask me my crazy opinion, if you were to ask me, there needs to be a separate set of I guess clusters or of categories for the three very different cognitive structures. Yeah, they don't use the DSM. I know, Melee. It doesn't make it any easier. But I honestly think there needs to be categorizations of personality disorders or whatever you want to fucking call them for autistic people, for neurotypical people, and for schizophrenia spectrum people. Right? Even if we're the outliers, so there's not going to be that many people that are autistic that have a PD of some kind, or schizophrenia spectrum people that are going to have a PD. I think most of the schizophrenia spectrum people are probably going to have some kind of PD because there's just like zero resources in most cases that aren't like damaging. But I think there needs to be kind of its own subset or specialization and category and understanding. And I think probably one of the easiest ways to study this would be to have people of those particular cognitions that are interested in those fields be the ones that study this shit, right? And then teach. They have to teach the neurotypical academics. It translates some of this shit into a language that makes sense. I think studying schizoids or schizotypals requires some of this on the schizophrenia spectrum, and I think that studying autistic people and understanding them requires autistic people to be involved. Yeah, because what the self represents is going to be very different between a neurotypical person, a schizo person, and an autistic person. How the self is defined and experienced and instructed is going to be very different. And that's something they don't seem to fucking understand. So, because of that very reason, I think there needs to be a separation there. I almost vomited hearing. Oh my god. Okay, hey Sin, get on the stream. Hey, you want to get on the stream? Fuck around, because I want to talk about some stuff. Um, I'm on the stream if you want to jump on. If you want to hang out. That's. I almost vomited hearing today. Neurodiverse people don't have theory of mind. I've heard them say autistic people don't have theory of mind, which is fucking ridiculous. I have the new DSM they released not very long ago, and schizoid, paranoid, and schizotypal all still exist. What is there a DSM 6 already? Because we have DSM 5. Schizotypal earned a note that it's considered schizophrenia spectrum from ICD for psychotic spectrum symptoms. It's all psychosis, right? According to them, it's all fucking psychosis, and it's all because mommy and daddy didn't give us enough titty, and you know, and daddy, you know, put his balls on her forehead at some point in our life. Like, just, it's always something crazy like that. I convinced that even a bunch of toddlers made ICD 11, it would be better. It's a DSM 5 TR. Is that like most up to date? I guess like with the patch notes. Is that the DSM 5 with new patch updates? Okay, this goddamn video game. Um, I hold on one sec. Hello? Okay. So, hey, I'm talking only because I'm inebriated. It's hard to talk to people sober, and coming on stream drunk is fun. Just get on the stream soon. God damn, it's fine. If you want to, just get on, because I'm only going to be on for like another 20 minutes or so. So, jump on, chill, get angry, get annoyed, whatever. Suppose I haven't seen you for a bit, so it might be fun. Oh, come on, jump on. Or somebody jump on. Shit. Give me. I want some schizoids to jump on here. Give me some schizoids. I don't care. One, two, whatever. I want to run this shit by them. Get me some schizoids. I want some schizoids to jump on here. So I can talk to them for a few minutes about this shit. Whether it's fucking Melee or fucking Sin or fucking anybody. Anybody. You got fucking. Hey, Melee, what's up? Are you there? Melee.
Hello.
Hey, Melee. Is that you?
No.
Yes, the best answer. That is not really. I am not really. Okay. So, hey, Melee. So, do you think, let me see here. So, what do you think about some of these, some of this theory that's being exposited here? Is it just because your mommy was very narcissistic that you decided that the best choice is to erase yourself because you are just filled with so much shame?
Hell no.
Okay, well, there you go. Confirmed. No, it's just like this is the thing. Like, okay, if you don't mind mentioning, I think because of well, based on what you've told me, I mean, would you say that you had were either of your parents narcissistic? Do you think? Or I mean, I know
No,
they were devoutly
I don't
religious, but
think
do you think they
so.
were narcissistic?
I don't think so.
Um, what what do you think? What you would be considered obviously, abuse in your history. What do you think it was fueled by? If it wasn't narcissism,
Mm, Ignorance and paranoia and I don't know, their own trauma.
so would just like fear maybe of some kind over something, some fear or anxiety about something that mattered to them, or
Yeah, probably.
like so you wouldn't describe your own parents' behavior, and God knows you've thought about it plenty over the years, as being narcissistic, as narcissism is often portrayed or discussed.
No, it was just more like paranoid, at least from one of my parents' side and
So
from the
almost like, but was the paranoia associated to things of a spiritual nature? Because I know you grew up in a very religious household.
um, spiritual and just
Social,
everything else. Yeah.
a social nature because of. If you don't mind me mentioning, what was the religion you were brought up again? In just for the
Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's Witness, right? So I know there's a lot of societal or group pressures, right, that exist in
Yeah.
that religion. So group pressures, societal pressure, um, religious fears, things of that nature. Um, okay, cool. So, would you say, um, and like we're just talking, right? This is just a conversation. I'm not trying to fucking diagnose you or some shit. That's you have your own psychs. And oh, by the way, did you recently didn't you did you because we've talked before on stream, but you finally got it right?
Yep.
So yeah,
Finally got it.
you finally got that schizoid diagnosis. Awesome. Not awesome, but you know what I'm saying. Because you've been like
Yeah.
fighting to fucking stop being called avoidant. Um, in any case, so okay, just based on your experiences, um, would you say that that paranoid slash societal pressure or whatever, however you want to describe it, parenting or caregiving, that you received, um, would if say it was better, right? If say in it would have been a different situation with your parents, right? Say a lot of this paranoia or this anxiety in your household was decreased significantly. Do you think there's no way from here? Oh, it's okay, so you chill. Do you think there that you would have just been a much more you would have just been a totally balanced, non isolated person now? Like you would have just been out there like everybody else, socializing and participating in neurotypical sort of interpersonal behavior.
I don't think so. I mean, it increased my symptoms and my tendencies, but
Yeah.
I think I would still be the same way.
Do you because I know that I guess you would be. I mean, at this point in your life, would you consider yourself to be overt or covert?
Overt more, I think.
Mm-hmm. So like you just avoid and you just or would you say that like you don't really do a lot of masking? You don't like
It depends.
depends.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but you'd prefer not to have to, right?
yeah,
Like, would you choose having a less like currently? Obviously, one I might want to change that, but did you make the choice of having a less functional life in order to not have to mask?
yeah,
Yeah. See, this is why like this is just an example, and I've talked to a lot of schizoids, but this is what I mean. Like, it's not just like having narcissistic parents or having parents that are you know, what did they call it, caregiver misattuned, is gonna cause a lot of the pathological or maladaptations that come with being a very different sort of person in an environment that is very difficult to kind of station yourself in any capacity. It's going to make it a lot worse, right? For example, were I to have grown up, like, okay, so my history is I had a father that was neglectful in the sense that, like, they made a lot of promises, didn't keep them, made a lot of claims that weren't true, made a lot of assumptions that weren't true. Um, it caused a lot of problems for my mother, who, a lot of these claims and promises were made to, which never culminated. And so it was this constant cycle of just like a portrayal of a person that was going to do these things and be like this and so on and so forth, and none of it culminated into anything. And it just kept like going back into some kind of delusion that he had about like his position and what was happening. And then in the case of my mother, she was a person that, grew up a kind person with not a lot of education, grew up in another country, lived here, eventually got citizenship, but had a kind of very kind of traditional understanding of what is good for a child, ideas of education is everything, which was good for me because I did a lot of reading. It's because of her that I got into as much literature as I did, right? As much nerdy bullshit as I did is because she thought that education was important, because she thought that was like the path to a better life than hers, right? And she wouldn't have been educated or understood this idea of having like a neurodivergent child or some shit like that. So, she tried to. Oh wow, that does sound like a narcissistic father. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Uh, so there, my father was kind of some people I've discussed it with is kind of like a vulnerable narcissist because he wasn't like, how do I explain this? Vulnerable in the sense that he wasn't competent, right? A lot of more malignant, well, not malignant, but a lot of narcissists are usually at least present themselves to be highly competent. But my father did not. My father did not seem or believe himself to be very confident, but made a lot of claims that would have been competent were he to have achieved them. But they never got achieved, and excuses would be made as to why they would not be achieved, and blame would be associated elsewhere, right? So it's a mess. It's its own mess, right? So, but I would say that the impact that if you even want to call my father narcissistic, my narcissistic father, if you want to say that, um, I can't diagnose him, right? Did was where a lot of my anger stems from, right? I would say a lot of my anger and frustration comes from that and resentment. But my alienation, disconnection from the world, my belief that can't connect to people, my thoughts pertaining to that, the pathology developed in association with that kind of shit. I that didn't come from just my relationship with my fucking dad. They came with my relationship with the world. They came with my relationship with my mother, who wasn't narcissistic in any capacity. They came with my relationship with my lack of relationship with my environment, and I've discussed that sort of stuff a multitude of times. You got accused of being narcissistic, Mila? By who? You're doing that thing,
Yeah,
Mila,
by
again, where you don't like just tell me to shut the
well,
fuck up and say the things. You just type them instead. Like this is like interesting. Like I'm reading the shit you're type. By the way, Mila is Moss, but I'm reading the shit you're typing in chat, and I'm like, I want to hear that. That's interesting. God damn it! Tell me about the things you just typed. Those are interesting
well,
things.
I mean, I said what I said already.
Look at you. You can't even reread it. Okay, I'll read it. I'm gonna do Mila's voice, okay? And I'm gonna read these parts. Hold on a sec. I used to think that one of my parents' behaviors were kind of narcissistic when I didn't know better, but then I realized it was actually exactly like PPD. I got accused of being narcissistic myself often, though for some reason. There. Alright, you can continue now, Emily.
With what?
You continue. You said for some. Oh yeah. Well, tell. I want to know about why did people? Who was saying you were narcissistic?
My mom.
Like, what? Yeah. How? Like, why?
I guess it was because I was or like I came across as cold sometimes, and yeah, I don't know.
What? Like,
Just
what would happen? Like, you would say, excuse me, mother. I do not like God. I do not like Jehovah. I do not like these things. You must be a narcissist. Like, what was the?